What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. In this video today, we're going to be talking specifically about near-term price action. We're going to be talking about this particular setup that is happening for only the fourth time in 4 years and what it means this week as we're looking at tomorrow's Fed meeting minutes and then Thursday's high-impact CPI's release. This week is shaping up to be historic. We're going to make sure that we are prepared and in front of it. We're going to start this off today by taking a look at probably one of the most important factors over here, and that's that deeper perspective, reminding you all that while many people focus off the highs, if you view Bitcoin off of the last low, and we're going to go start back not into 2018, we're going to look off of the global lockdowns, March 2020, and this is comparing Bitcoin to major global assets. You could see that Bitcoin, why many people say is not a store of value, why many people say is not an inflation hedge, and why I don't really think that Bitcoin is either one of those things. It is true that Bitcoin has stored value better than any other major asset. It is true that Bitcoin has vastly outperformed the rate of inflation. To me, Bitcoin, above all, is a hedge against the debasement of the currency. We'll talk about that in future videos, as well as that being dependent on future adoption. Now, before we talk about that, I do want to point out, if you look at some other asset classes, for example, Ethereum, do you remember we looked at Bitcoin is the rising tide that lifts all boats, and we look for Ethereum to outperform? And you could see that Ethereum during this time frame has absolutely vastly outperformed. You could throw something up like Tesla as well. Also, to date, continuing to outperform. And those both are notable. I want to make sure that I include them. And I also want to see what happens the next time there is any type of rally across risk markets. This is post-merge, and I'm interested to see if post-merge, if we see that this gap continues to hold. Now, it's my own personal belief that it will, and that we're not going to see something like we saw in the last big bear market where this gap was closed. You can see the gap was closed, the bottom is in, on the way up as risk rally, Ethereum outperforms, then you go back into correction, Bitcoin outperforms, and then over here after the bottom, this is the global lockdowns. Once we set up in the accumulation phase before the bull of all bill runs, Ethereum running faster and harder. It's my own personal opinion that we're not going to see this gap close this time during the bear market, that rather if we see any type of risk rally, that we're going to see the gap hold and Ethereum continue to outperform on the upside. Now, I don't know whether that's right or not. I'm talking about observations, things that I'm watching, so that we could watch them together. When I talk about Bitcoin being number one and above all, many things to many people, right? To me, Bitcoin is fair and just. Bitcoin is hope for freedom. Bitcoin is good for families. Bitcoin is a currency debasement hedge, and that hedge is dependent on whether or not there's continued adoption. And we like to view the adoption life cycle and S-curve, and this is dependent on continued growth of the network. We could see that even during this bear market, we are seeing growth as addresses holding non-zero balances continue to rise. It's interesting because in past bear markets, you saw this flatten out very substantially. Here's the last bear market, and there was almost no growth for quite a long time here on the Bitcoin network. We've seen throughout this bear market, we have seen since the all-time high over here, we've seen about, let's say, it looks like over 4 million new addresses added, and we are continuing to see growth of the network. That is good. That is healthy. And today, actually, we saw that we're looking at Google Cloud Services now accepting Bitcoin for payments. It's continued adoption. We saw that just a couple of weeks ago. We were looking at the NASDAQ exchange offering custodial services. It's that continued growth of the network. And we're seeing as entities like Wall Street is here, BlackRock is now offering or getting ready to offer Bitcoin to their high net worth individual clients, that continued growth on a larger and larger scale. And that's a good sign that Bitcoin will continue to do Bitcoin things. Now let's get a little bit into the price action. And before we do, I want to talk about that particular event that is setting up, that has only set up a few times in the past 4 years. It's very easy to see. You're looking Bitcoin at the daily chart. You could see that tight compression taking place. Generally, when you see across all markets, we talk about contraction leads to expansion. I'm going to zoom out over here a little bit up, and then I'm going to pull up the volatility historical index of Bitcoin. And what I want you to notice, I'm going to zoom in out over here, right? I have the index at 25 over here, this horizontal line. And you can see that there's only one, two, this is the third time. I said fourth time earlier. This is only the third time in the past 4 years that the historical volatility index has traded underneath that level. What is significant about it, you can see the first time that happened, there was a massive, massive move, right? Bitcoin traded off 50% within days. This is 60 days over here, and you see Bitcoin trade off 50% to the downside the last time we saw this type of compression on the index. And then we had another time that occurred where the index was trading down. That was over here. This is in July 2020. We saw a quick 30% move up on Bitcoin. And then out of there, obviously, we saw Bitcoin just really shoot the moon, doing about a 6x over a period of months. So it stands to reason that Bitcoin right now, as we once again are looking at that index being underneath the 25 level, compressing over here, that we're getting ready for a big move. Some might point out to, well, the move could be to the downside. Yep, for sure. The move could also be to the upside. I actually have no idea which way it's going to go. There are differences between what was occurring down over here, including them. This was on no volume. As Bitcoin went sideways, you were seeing, let me pull up volume so you could see the difference over there. I'm just going to move away from the vol index, and you could see during this period, volume was really low before the crash down. Now, this is not the same over here. We're actually seeing rising volume during this compression. Now, that's not to say that we should see a breakout to the upside and that we can't see a breakout to the downside. I have no idea which way it's going to break, only that I think right now it's really important to be focused, to lose whatever bias you have, because you don't want to be caught on the wrong side if there is an extremely big move. And as we looked back in the past two occasions, there were big moves, both to the downside, 50% move, big move to the upside, initial 30% move within weeks, and then leading to an extended bigger move. You want to make sure right now that you are sharp and focused. We've been looking, or many people have been looking at the trend line break that has occurred off of the all-time high, connecting the April high, and then again in the September. I'm going to zoom in here to the daily time frame so you could check it out. Now, there are some people who say that, well, this hasn't yet broken out to the upside. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me. I'm going to go with that. It's a breakout to the upside. Not only is it breakout to the upside, you can see over here from the work that we've been doing together daily that those that put the stop loss below that last swing low before the breakout would now be getting neutral over here. You can see if I extend out this clone line over here. We're just coming into it this morning. It's pretty close. We're just coming in for a test of it. And then you have over here the low of the move prior to the breakout that would signify the failure. Of course, price trading below that trend line would also signal a failure, but we could get a better look at that. So let's do that over here. I'm not going to get into the log right over here yet. I want to show you over here a couple of things that are happening. And I want to do that first by you being able to view that breakout we were just looking at, that trend line break to the upside. And you could see that why it's under pressure. It's still technically still holding. It's very fragile. But if you look on the other side, you can see that you've had a trend line break, the sell side. You've had a trend line break, a retest of that break, and price is now resuming down off of it. I would say that it's both ways, and definitely even leaning towards the sellers here in this massive downtrend continues. If you zoom out a little further to the June low, price is still sideways, right? Let me show you on both the bull side and the sell side together. And you can see that price has gone nowhere over these past few months. We looked at it in the view of, let me go ahead and just show you over here. Let me pull up the 3-day actually. It gives you a really nice view. And then let me go ahead and take that off. And you can see that price is really compressing. It could break out or break down one way or the other. We could see this really strong fight occurring between the bulls, and why someone, if you're kind of reaching, but it's true, could say that, well, this breakout is still intact. People that were defensive on it were already taking their stop loss right now, as we see that we've taken out the last swing low. And then, but technically we're still above the trend line. We could still be coming in for a retest. This could still hold. And anyone who went ahead and set their stop loss, which means that they went ahead and sized their position accordingly off of that last low, they're still holding on to that trade. There's still a little bit of hope there. But on the near term, I would say that the sellers over here for sure, obviously taking a position. You see the breakdown, the retest, now resuming down. I'd say coming into such a high impact news event this week over the next 2 days, though, that it pays to be neutral. It pays to make sure that whatever your bias is right now, that you get on the right side. If we see a breakout of this range, whether it's to the upside or downside, I'll zoom in a little and you can see clearly over here. Let me just take it off the auto and jump over here and put it in the center. Whether it's a breakdown or a breakout, you want to make sure, regardless of what you felt up until that point, that you get on the right side, because we could expect, past has shown that we've seen a big move when we've seen the volatility index compress down to these levels. Also, of course, you have to be able to, if you have a break one way, if you break out to the upside and then you see it fade, we're often seeing these patterns. We call them fakies, where price breaks out and then comes back down. That usually leads to an even bigger move, as a lot of people were caught on the wrong side of the trade. Be very careful, be very focused. It's a big week. We'll make sure that we're here together throughout it. Ethereum, let's take a quick look at it also. Ethereum, you can see that it's just been sideways. This is all post-merge. You can see over here, since September 20th, for the last month, price has been flat. Sellers in deep control, picking up new positions and holding those positions. I assume running right now about 4 or 5% into profit. And Ethereum continues to prove massive alpha for trading. I prefer trading Ethereum to actually stack those stats. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I look forward to sharing more. Have a beautiful day, everyone.